Oh. 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 Good morning. Oh my God. Oh. 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 Hmm. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh. This is what you get from 7 days of partying. Saturnalia. Oh, Saturnalia. So, yeah. Right. Hello. Good morning. Slightly unusual start to that. And I think I found that videos only loop for a certain amount of time on a live, because there's a lot more to that video, as you will shortly see. Yes, good morning everybody. I think I'm just going to leave comments on today because it's Saturnalia, or it's nearly Christmas. Saturnalia was quite possibly, you crazy cat. Oh, what can I say? What can I say? Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Kate. Good morning, Terry. Good morning, Adrian. Excuse me. So, yes, so Saturnalia, kind of a forerunner of Christmas, a Roman celebration. And frankly, it is no surprise that I was so drunk in those celebrations, because Saturnalia started on the 17th of December, and it is now the 23rd of December. So I have been partying for... I need to put some more lipstick on. Wait. Oh, I've been partying for 7 days, and Saturnalia often in the past was a 7-day festival. Sometimes it was only 3 days. It depended basically on the emperor and the politics of the day. So Saturnalia was, well, the clue is in the name. Now I've got bits of Cornwall everywhere. The clue is in the name. So Saturnalia was a festival that was dedicated to Saturn, weirdly enough, who was the god of, he was sort of an agricultural god. So they were kind of starting early with the making sure that the spring harvest was actually happening. They didn't want to hedge their bets and wait until spring. But we have met, if you remember, we have met Saturn before. So he's this guy. And if you have been watching any of my Elevenses, previous Elevenses, then you will know that Saturn was often called Kronos in the Greek tradition. Saturn is Roman, and he is the guy who ate his children, including Zeus. Well, only he didn't eat Zeus because there was a big old trick. It was a stone instead. Anyway, it's a whole story. So if you want to know that story, then you can look back into the archives. Hello, maggot 76. So you can go back into the archives and get that story. So this was a festival dedicated to Saturn. Okay. Here it is. Here it is depicted rather... I'm going to say this is quite a sanitized version. So this is an 18th century painting. This dates to 1783, as I recall. It's a French artist called Antoine Calais, who was actually court artist to Louis XVI of France. So maybe they just celebrated Saturnalia a bit bit too much, or the French equivalent of, and then the French Revolution happened. But so you can see that there is Saturn or Kronos as a statue in the back there. He is, in fact, it's a bit small for you to see there, but he is in fact holding a baby, which is quite worrying. And then people are marauding round, and they're being poured wine, and there's someone in the centre of the image there who's so pissed that she's slumped on the table, and there's little kids probably drinking wine as well. People are eating and drinking and making merry, and it was all a little bit riotous. Which was the sort of public feast. So actually the whole thing would start off with a sacrifice to the statue of Saturn, and they would unfetter his legs or his ankles. Like, I didn't know he was actually fettered, but I think it was a ceremonial kind of unfettering so that Saturn could actually join in the feast, and so there's this whole public thing that went on. But then what happened was that the festival, the public festival, didn't last for 3 days or 7 days or however long it was in that particular period of time, but the private parties did. So I think that probably the way that we can equate this is to New Year's Eve. Okay, so people celebrated in lots of different ways, but there were maybe some traditions. So I'm going to go back to the video. I think some of you saw a little bit of it, some of you didn't see any of it. I hope it stays in sync. It sort of tends to go out of sync a little bit, but do you know what? That just adds to the kind of Saturnalian vibe, and people would run around the streets going, "Yo, Saturnalia!" So there we go. So this is what you have to say all day. Yo, Saturnalia. Okay, so I'm going to unpick this, and I'm going to play this one first. I do have something I want to say to my master. I mean, today is my servant. I want to say, yo, Saturnalia, and master and servant, yeah, the good enough publican. And you're a Futurum Extreme Ladrine. Okay, so pissed up little slave dancing around in a Christmas outfit, which obviously is not quite right. But okay, so two things said in that video. Well, actually three. Master. Oh no, you're not my master today, you're my servant. So basically kicking off with the public festival, a lord of misrule, or a kind of king of Saturnalia, was voted in, was appointed. That's what I'm looking for. And people did all sorts of crazy things, but the big kind of thrust of Saturnalia was that everything was turned upside down. So masters became slaves, slaves became masters, although not quite. That was sort of the idea, but that didn't entirely happen. And slaves had the opportunity to say things that they would never ever be allowed to say ordinarily. And so therefore, basically this slave is calling her master a stacunum publicum, which means basically a public pile of poo. Nice. Or a Futurum Extreme Latrine. Latrine, again, the clue is in the name. Yes, it's all toilet humour. So that means basically like a stinky sewer bottom. Very classy. She's a very, very classy girl. Yeah, problem is, so you can say all that in Saturnalia, when Saturnalia is happening, but of course, Saturnalia doesn't last all year. Saturnalia only lasts for a maximum of a week, and once Saturnalia has finished, then you go back to being a slave. So you actually kind of ought to really take a little bit of care about what you actually say. Okay, so we're going to go on. I have another little clip for you. There we go.
My servant gave this to me. I'm gonna drink it all. My servant.
Yeah, wine obviously was a huge part of Saturnalia. There were reports that Cato the Elder gave his slaves, 3.5 litres of wine each to enjoy throughout Saturnalia. So it's not surprising that, frankly, I was unable to stand up, is it?
Very pleased that his best friend gave this to him for Saturnalia because it means I don't have to scratch his bloody, disgusting back anymore. Saturnalia to him.
Okay. Yeah, so wine, obviously, one of the gifts for a slave, the gift of a little bit of freedom for the day, but also the kind of wealthy people gave each other gifts, like as in Christmas gifts, I suppose. And so gifts that would be given would be perhaps a back scratcher like this one. This is actually a recorded gift, obviously not exactly like this one, but some kind of wooden or bone back scratcher in the shape of a hand. This is a recorded gift for Saturnalia. But then other things like toothpicks or ear picks. Don't even want to think about what that might look like. What it would look like to watch someone enjoying their gift. Pretty grim. Or more normal things like vases or cookware, or hair dye. That was a thing. Or hats, maybe to cover your hair if you haven't dyed it, or if you have dyed it and it looks really, really bad. A bath bell, that's a good one. So a bell that you ring while you're in the bath if you need attention. That sounds marvellous to me. Gym equipment, dumbbells, or a bladder football, or pets sometimes, a bird or perhaps even a monkey. That was for the very, very wealthy people. And for the extremely wealthy, why not give the gift of a specialist slave? That was the ultimate in gifting. How lovely. What am I on? Which one am I on?
Very pleased.
No, I've done that one.
His best friend.
I'm on 4. Okay, 4. Clip 4.
I won this. I won this in a game of dice. I won this. I won this in a game of dice.
I won this in a game of dice. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the clothes first of all. So won it in a game of dice, but might have actually been very proud to have been wearing this little hat called a pileus. And this is an image of, actually this is a Greek, not a Roman, wearing a pileus. So this is a Greek from something like 325 BC. But the pileus was the hat of a free man. And so slaves, and I'm using this is kind of, it's the forerunner, isn't it? It's the forerunner. So slaves would be allowed to wear the pileus throughout the entire time of Saturnalia. Which must have been very exciting for them. And likewise, they would have worn quite brightly coloured clothes as well. So not the boring old togas for Saturnalia. No. Brightly coloured clothes. It was all going on. Great fun. So also I mentioned gambling. Gambling was another pastime that was absolutely encouraged during Saturnalia, but not at all at any other time of the year. And I guess, so this is an image from Pompeii, actually this is a fresco from Pompeii of people gambling. Possibly they're playing backgammon, not entirely sure. But this, gambling, because it was a leveller, I think, you would roll the dice, and whether you were a lowly slave or the master of the household, you couldn't odds it, so you wouldn't know exactly you could win or you could lose. That was a simple way of saying that, wasn't it? So lots of gambling went on. So drinking, gambling, gift giving, absolutely brilliant times. I'm going to actually just stop sharing for a moment, and then I'm going to go to my last little clip, which is...
Now, where's that flute girl? I'm going to carry the flute girl around the house and then get naked. You! Saturnalia. Oh! You! I'm going to carry the flute...
Flute Girl's back! Again, those of you who have listened throughout the year, we've had a lovely few moments with Flute Girl, haven't we? So Flute Girl was a girl that was hired, like literally, to play the flute. Generally speaking, in symposiums. Poor Flute Girl. So Flute Girl, it is actually written, I said at the beginning, that a king of Saturnalia was appointed to oversee the festivities, but also the king of Saturnalia charge people to do really crazy, stupid things. So one of the things that it is actually recorded is that he asked somebody to carry the flute girl around the house 3 times. So poor Flute Girl. She was also probably one of the only women left in the revelries. Excuse me, because I imagine with all that drinking and all that debauchery, and yes, I did by the say I'm going to go and get naked, because then as now, getting naked when you're drunk is obviously absolutely the most hilarious thing that you could ever possibly do. So, yeah, I imagine that Flute Girl was probably one of the only women left in the household. I imagine all of the rest of the women just kind of, well, they probably hunkered down with their kids, and hopefully for them they took some of the best wine with them and sat to help the proceedings in relative tranquility. We know that some men did that as well. Apparently Pliny the Younger used to lock himself away in his study for the entire duration of Saturnalia. I think we probably all know we've all got a Pliny in our lives, haven't we? But yes, so everything turned upside down. A sort of a master of ceremonies, making sure that everybody is as drunk as possible and as silly as possible. I have one question though. So if all of the slaves are indulging in bad behaviour because they are allowed to, and sort of masters become slaves and the slaves become masters, it's sort of a little bit of an inversion of society. I'm imagining that the masters probably don't really know how to run the household in the way that the slaves do. So I wonder whether everything just did really literally go to pot, or whether some slaves weren't allowed to enjoy Saturnalia. I mean, maybe it was kind of a bit of a carrot in a year of sticks. If you're good, if you're a nice slave, I'll let you off for 3 days or 7 days at the end of the year. I mean, like, wow, big wow. I don't know. Yeah, what happened to the people that weren't indulging? What happened to the children and to the women? It's not recorded. It's really annoying. So we know that someone carried a flute girl around the house 3 times, but we don't actually know much. Kind of many of the bigger, kind of more practical details. Oh, that's Saturnalia for you. So I'm just going to say, yo, Saturnalia, I am going to thank you very much for joining. I hope this video is played properly. I will put the entire video up on Instagram and Facebook and so on as a kind of little I was going to say a little gem, more like a little horror in its entirety. So you can enjoy that when it's in sync. But very, very, very Merry Christmas to you all. And yes, yo, Saturnalia, and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining me throughout the year. I will be doing one next week. Goodness knows what. We'll see. Hope you make it safely through New Year. Thanks for the laughs. Thank you. So I know I might not make it through. I'm going to go back to my red wine. I'm actually quite disturbed at how good I am at being pissed. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you for joining. Bye.